Syria should not be used as a base of for terrorist groups and should have peaceful relations with its neighbors, and that chemical weapons stockpiles should be secured and safely destroyed. As the Secretary said on Saturday, our message to the Syrian people is this: we want them to succeed, and we are prepared to help them do so. But we have had, I will say, more than one communication with HTS over the past week, and those communications have been largely focused around, let's call them, two buckets of issues. The first is the importance of locating and returning Austin Tice to his family. The second area of communications has been around the principles that the Secretary laid out publicly early last week, and then you saw countries in the region coalesce around over the weekend. Those are the ones I just went through, making clear to HTS that while we have heard them say in their public statements that they're committed to an open and inclusive and transparent government, that we believe it is important that they actually adhere to that, as well as adhere to these other principles, and that we will be watching them closely over the coming weeks. Policy with respect to the Golan Heights hasn't changed. I don't have any comment on the announcement of people moving from inside Israel to the ought to be upheld. Israel has said that the deployment of forces into that buffer zone is temporary. We believe that deployment ought to be temporary, and the 1974 disengagement agreement ought to be upheld. And if you look at the statement that the United States signed on to, along with our partners in the region and a number of European countries on Saturday, it called for the upholding of Syria's territorial integrity. We stand by that position. I'm not going to speak to that specifically, other than to say that we have been greatly concerned about the state of Georgian democracy, the actions that Georgia Dream has taken to undermine Georgia democracy. You saw us just on Friday impose 20 new visa restrictions on individuals affiliated with the government who have been responsible for undermining democracy in the country. We have other sanctions that we are preparing to unfold in the coming weeks.
But there are criticism, coming from the Hill, saying that you are demoralizing protesters out there on the city. They've been out there for 3 weeks now.
We could not be more clear, including a statement from Secretary Blinken week before last and a statement from me on Friday, that we are preparing an additional sanctions package that we will roll out in the coming weeks. Now, these are not things, in many cases, that you can do overnight. You have to make sure you get the letter of the law right when you roll out these sanctions, and that's what we're working on doing even as we speak.